Hey everybody. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about an alternative that a lot of students have been asking about to if and else if blocks called switch statements. And a lot of questions, hey, can I use a switch statement? Hey, what's a switch statement? Blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about them today and how they're kind of a little bit different than if else blocks. And maybe you'll find them useful in certain cases. So let's go ahead and just make a program that's going to make sense of this. Let's make a scanner that we're going to take the user's input. I'm going to call this scanner S. And let's make it take in the system.in. So if you don't have any familiarity with scanner, my bad. If you don't have any familiarity with scanner, you can kind of look at another tutorial that I've done on scanner. This is going to be our interaction with the user here. So let's go ahead and prompt the user for a number between 1 to 5. Okay, let's grab that user's input. Scanner's next in. And as usual, I will consume the next line. To see why I might do that, go ahead and go to a scanner video. I don't want to take up too much time talking about that. Basically what we're doing is we're asking the user for an integer, they get to give it, and then let's make some choices based on that. Okay, so a switch statement is a lot like an if and else if block in that you get to choose which way the program goes depending on what the user's input is. So let's go over the syntax real quick. So what we're going to do is write the word switch, and then you want to see what is it that we're looking at. What's the depending on what variable do we want to change the flow of control. It's the user's input. So you put what you want to check in there, right? And then what we're going to do is add these cases. So if it's the case that I really want it to be over there. I'm not going to fight it right now. But if it's the case that the user's input is 1, right? Then I put a colon. Okay. So what we're saying here, if it's the case that user input is 1, then I get to do this little sub statement in here. Okay. This is kind of bothering me that these are lined up, but I'm not going to fight it right now for the sake of time. Then I want to print out, hey, you picked 1. Let's go ahead and build a case for all the numbers real quick. And I'm just going to borrow this code and just change the numbers and just watch what happens. Okay. Let's change this to 2, this to 3, this to 4, and this to 5. This to 2, this to 3, this to 4, and this to 5. Okay. So if it's the case that the user's input is 1, we wanted to say, hey, you picked 1. All right. So I've seen a couple of people in class trying to use these, and they're kind of like, wringing their hands over how this isn't behaving like they wished it would. So let's take a look at how this behaves real quick. Let's use the scanner here and pick a number from 1 to 10. Actually, I don't. That's somewhere else. I don't want to use this one. I need to run this particular program. Let's save all. I'm going to save this, and I need to run the switch statements. I'd like to run this one. What's going on here, bro? I want to run this one. Oh, I love Eclipse sometimes. So it's running. There we go. Okay, so it's picking a number from 1 to 5. I've run so many programs on here in the last 24 hours that it kind of has a lot of active programs in its memory right now. Pick a number from 1 to 5. All right, ready? Let's pick one. Okay, so if I pick the number 1, I would expect this to say, you pick number 1. Yay. And then go ahead and exit. But we don't get that. Look at all this stuff that we get. What? I didn't pick 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I just picked 1. This thing is totally broken, right? Well, no, it's actually behaving exactly like it's supposed to. Let's pick a different number and see if we can kind of figure out what's going on. Pick a number from 1 to 5. How about let's pick 3? Oh, I see what's going on. So when the number was 3, it didn't pass this test. It didn't pass this test, but it did pass this test. And that kind of gives it a VIP card to go ahead and enter every single substatement after it. You picked 3, you picked 4, you picked 5, right? So it gives it permission to go into every subsequent substatement, if that makes sense. Okay, so it didn't pass these 2 tests, but as soon as it passes one of them, it gets the VIP card and can go anywhere it wants. How do we prevent it from doing that? Well, there's a special word we can use called break. Okay, so what this break means is that we're going to jump out of the if-else statement. So we can just dump this word after every single substatement, and what that means is, let's look at the same input of 3, right? Is it the case that the number is 1? No. 2? No. 3? Yes. You picked 3. And then when it sees this word break, what it does is if I hover over it, it'll tell me what it's going to break out of, right? If I just click on it, it says, I'm going to break out of the switch statement altogether. It will skip everything else and go to here, right? So now if I pick the number 3, I should get, let's go ahead and see. I should only get, you pick 3, and there we go. So that's what, it's very conventional to write break after all these, unless you're interested in giving the program permission to enter subsequent statements, which, I could see as useful maybe in some situations, but oftentimes, if else might be just a better way to do it. Okay, so what if there's only 1 or 2 special cases that you're interested in, and everything else you want to just catch? You don't want to have to write a case for everything else. Let's go ahead and just show you how this works for strings as well. Let's go ahead and pick a word. Okay, pick a word. And it's not going to be an int, is it? So let's go ahead and change this to string. I'm going to try to beat the clock here. I only have 10 minutes. Let's take the next line, and then that will eliminate the need for this. So now we can use switch statements with strings. We can use switch statements with ifs, and we can use switch statements with chars, and that's about it. Okay, and that's kind of like the limitation that switch statements have. You only have 3 choices of things that you can use switch statements for. So I'm going to pick my favorite word here. Again, I'm not going to fight the indentation. If it's the case that the word is huskies, then I'm going to be like this, just to kind of like produce some output. That's my favorite word. And then let's make one more other case just for fun. If it's the case that the word is cougars, sorry, Apple Cup people, it's getting close. I'm going to write sys out. Boo. Okay. So again, I need to include break after these if I don't want to get the behavior of entering the subsequent blocks after every single case is passed. What's wrong with this? Why don't you like me? Oh yeah, this doesn't go here. The colon goes after the case statement. And then I want to break after this too. And then what if every other word doesn't matter to me, right? I don't want to have to like write a case for every single word, right? There's a keyword for that, and that's default. It's kind of like the word else in your if else blocks. Your default will be, and of course this is bothering me a lot, but these should all be indented. The default, I'm just going to write I've been missing that shortcut like all week. Meh. Okay, I'm going to write meh. It's like whatever. So this should behave in the way that if I get huskies, I get that output. If I get cougars, I get that output. And anything else should produce meh. So like, how about like Johnny? Meh. Okay, that's behaving exactly like I thought it would. Pick a word. How about huskies? Let's make sure this is working. Yeah, okay, this is working just like we would. Okay, so another disadvantage to switch statements when you're using ints is that you have to pinpoint a particular integer value. You can't say if it's the case that it's greater than 90 or less than 100 or whatever, any sort of like relational greater than or less than or anything like that. You have to pinpoint a particular value, right? Let's see if I can fit in one more feature of this. I can add, let's say I want this behavior for multiple cases. I can stack those cases up here as well. So let's say I wanted this behavior also for when the case is that it's Seahawks. I can stack that up as well, and I could actually stack as many as I want up here to get this behavior. If it's the case that it's Husky or if it's the case that it's Seahawks, I can get this behavior. So let's just test this and make sure we get that. Nice. Okay, so basically all of these cases then will get this behavior, and everything else, or cougars will get this, and everything else will get meh. Okay, so those are case statements, or switch statements. So again, let's review. You can use strings, ints, and chars. See, look, I'm running out of time here. And that when you do, you actually have to, especially with ints, you have to pinpoint an integer value in order for the behavior to be true. You can't do it for like greater than or less than. So those are kind of ways to choose whether or not you want to use a switch statement or an if-else if block. If you see one of those is more useful to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll probably talk more about this in class, but I appreciate your time and happy coding, everybody.